Hey, Ed, what are you doing over there?
Hey, Mitch, I'm just playing Pac-Man. How are you?
Good. Pac-Man? Oh, for
Yeah,
God's sakes, Ed, that thing came out like 42 years ago.
yeah, it's my favorite game. It's awesome. We should do a show about it.
Really? That old thing? Who plays
Hey,
Pac-Man?
hey, don't diss Pac-Man. You know, bad things will happen.
Oh, like what?
Uh, like this. Let's just start the show. Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Pinball Wizard Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If it's your first time here, thanks so much for joining us. If you are a regular viewer, welcome back. If you do want to find out a little bit more about the show and help us out a bit, what can you do, Mitch?
Oh, Ed, that's easy. All you have to do is be a subscriber to the Mitch and Ed Excellent Adventure. And you do that, it's as easy as slipping a quarter in a slot in your favorite arcade. Just hit the subscribe button and you'll be subscribed to our channel. We thank you. And hit the notification bell and you'll know when we go on a next excellent adventure. And why not hit like just for the hell of it? Where are we going today, Ed?
We're heading back to the arcades to the early 80s. Actually 1980, but it didn't really take off until like 1982, hence my ET baseball cap today, where that was also huge in cinemas at the time. We're going back and looking at Pac-Man. Pac-Man was a phenomenon, and it was an unexpected phenomenon by, I suppose, by the creator Toru Iwatani, who worked at Namco. At the time, Space Invaders was huge in 1978 when that really was the arcade game that was the largest selling
the and end all.
Yeah, it was everywhere. It was packed into the Atari 2600. There was a single in Australia, Space Invaders by Player One, which was a top 10 hit, which I've got the single of, which was great. And it was huge. But Toru Iwatani, basically, who was working for Namco, they were developing Galaxian at the time, which is sort of a similar Space Invaders game. He was sort of going, well, you know what? Guys like video games. I want a game that, young people and girls can also play. So we were starting to create a more not a family friendly game, but I suppose a game that was a bit more appealing to all ages. They were developing a new method where they could display sprites with multiple colors, and you'll see that in Galaxian when they were doing that. So they could do the colorful colors and everything like that, and that's where Pac-Man sort of was created. Did you play Pac-Man in the arcades?
Oh, I did. I was a big after school roll of quarters arcade nut. Space Invaders, then it was Asteroids was the big game to do. And then I remember when Pac-Man started showing up at the arcade and my friend Al was all into it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about this Pac-Man thing with this little yellow dot and you got to eat these things. And what's up with those ghosts? But it took off. I remember every place had a Pac-Man machine. The pizza restaurants, the pharmacies had them, the arcades, everywhere you went, the pool halls, everybody had a Pac-Man. And those ghosts became like instantaneous pop culture hits. You say 82, I'm going to say like 81 because I remember going to see Raiders of the Lost Ark and Superman 2 that summer, and in the movie theaters they had an arcade machine, and I remember everybody was playing Pac-Man. And not only that, there was books about how to beat Pac-Man, and I have one somewhere here. It's a paperback. Yeah, well, mine was a little paperback, and what it did, it had all the patterns. And you would read it and it would say like, go to the left, go up and down and wait for the ghost to go by you, then go up around. And it would tell you how to clear each screen because that was the big deal. It was, I think the cherry screen was the first one. And then you'd have like strawberries and oranges. And every time you cleared another screen of Pac-Man mazes, you'd have a new fruit. And then after about 5 or 6 of them, they'd have these little cartoon intermissions to give yourself a rest. The little cut scenes, exactly. And those were actually fun. I remember just watching guys that were really good at it, and I'd sit behind them just to wait for the cut scenes because it was like, oh, like a bonus feature that we have nowadays. you know, in the world of DVDs and Blu-rays. But there was the ghost would go down the screen chasing Pac-Man, and then they'd come back freaking out, and there'd be a giant Pac-Man with that waka 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 waka, long before Fozzie Bear, I think, was doing that. And yeah, that's my memories of Pac-Man. And then we had a song here. You might have had a Space Invader song, but did Pac-Man Fever break the top 10 charts over in Australia?
Well, I know that it reached number 9 by Buckner and Garcia. I've got their album, Pac-Man Fever. That's both the album and the single sold over 1 million copies.
Yeah.
And I play that regularly. I quite like it. I don't think we're going to be able to play any of it now because of the content matching.
Well, I think I could hum the lyrics. Pac-Man
Okay.
Fever. Or that's actually Cat Scratch Fever. I kind of just.
That's right. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And it is, that is a great earworm. It was huge. So that came out in 1982. So let's just backtrack a little bit. Originally in Japan, it was the name of it. I won't pronounce it because I won't be able to do it justice. But basically in Japanese, it was an onomatopoeia, which basically was the sound that you made mimicked what it was doing. So it was actually the name of the game was essentially like open close mouth. Oh, it was.
Oh, okay.
So
see, I thought I was gonna say I thought it looked like a game called Maze Craze, which was like an Atari 2600 game where you just basically had to go through a maze and stuff, and then they added the ghost chasing after you too. So it was kind of as much as it was an original game, it was kind of like a hybrid of some other games that were out there, so
I think it did take a little bit of inspiration from Maze Craze. So it was also the inspiration of Pac-Man itself was a pizza with a slice taken out of it.
Oh yeah, no, I could see that. Yeah,
which is where he got that. And originally it was going to be called Puckman because it was like that was the name of it in when they were going to bring it over. However, they decided to change it from Puckman to Pac-Man because they felt with Puckman, it was very easy for people to graffiti it with an F in front of it. To stop it being, let's say...
I didn't know, more adult. Yeah, yes. I can see that. I didn't know that. Do you know why the ghosts were called Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde? What was up with that?
So basically they were originally all going to be the same color. And Iwatani, who said, no, I think we should make these individual colors and give them some personality. And essentially what he did is there's a little bit of very early AI in those, in that they are different enemies. It's not just the same thing, everything like that. So Blinky was Shadow, Pinky was speedy, it was really fast. Inky was bashful, which moved around, and Clyde was pokey, or the dumb one. So they all have their individual personalities as well. And as you said, they became Pac-Man and the Ghosts became such an iconic part of video game lore and
T-shirts, everything, merchandise. I had a cork board, like a bulletin board in my room that had Pac-Man on it and such. I remember there was T-shirts and all that.
T-shirts, there was plush toys, which I had some. Hats you mentioned about, badges. There were a lot.
Badges,
you mentioned about the magazines. I remember having a few of those.
Oh yeah, there were Video Game Monthly.
It was like with the Rubik's Cube. When that came out, there were a lot of books about how to solve the Rubik's Cube. Yeah. So there was that. You always ask me, well, did it have a board game and did it have a lunchbox?
Lunchbox?
Yes, it did.
Really?
And I'll put it up now.
Why would you have a board game on a video game? What was the point?
Well, you had board games for there was Mario board games.
Yeah, but later on, I mean, that's when they started merchandising the characters like Donkey Kong and but I mean, what did you do? What was the object of the game?
So you had a board game and you had a plastic Pac-Man and pellets, and you would move that as you'd roll and go across.
Really?
Yeah. There were trading cards as well, which also came with 3 cards and 3 stickers. There was also a pinball machine that came out in 82, 83.
I never saw a pinball machine.
Which sort of was an interesting one because it was a traditional pinball, and then it had sort of a maze at the...
Oh, wait, no, you're right. Did it have like another video screen inside the pinball that
It
you
was
could play
either
Pac-Man?
inside it or was on the back glass. It was an interesting design.
Yeah.
I'll put a picture up of it to
Oh,
show you.
yeah, I vaguely remember. I'll tell you one thing. I remember restaurants getting into tabletop versions of Pac-Man because I played the arcade cabinet, that big yellow classic arcade cabinet. But then when Ms. Pac-Man came out, which is a couple years later, I think that's 83 maybe.
Yeah, I think it
82.
was around 82, 83.
Yeah,
It was
that
still super popular.
Yeah, suddenly in restaurants and bars, I was too young for bars, but you would see them in the distance. The people would sit at the table.
They were
and
called
they'd look down.
cocktail
Yeah, and they
cabinets.
play Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man looking down too. Honestly, Ms. Pac-Man, for some reason, even though the premise is the same, I enjoyed that one more than Pac-Man because Ms. Pac-Man changed the maze up every couple screens. They had a little variation of it, and obviously the character was a female and had lashes and I think a bow in her hair. Yeah. I like that one a lot more than I did.
There was so many iterations. There was Pac and Pow, which came out in 83.
Pac-Land, I think was
Pac-Land. They went from 2D maze to 3D. There was like an RPG or a platformer, and to this day they're still making variations of Pac-Man or bringing out classic versions on.
By the time folks watch this, I just read that on May 26, 2022, Pac-Man Museum comes out, and that's going to be available for the PlayStation and Xbox, and it's a combination of all the various Pac-Man games that have come out in the last literally 42 years now. I'll tell you one thing. Here, Pac-Man Fever got so much. You talk about the board game, you talk about the lunchbox. It had its own TV show. It had a cartoon show with Marty Ingalls. And I don't know if you know Marty Ingalls.
I know the name.
He was the husband of Shirley Jones, aka Mother Partridge. But Marty was a voiceover guy here in the States, and he would do a lot of cartoons and a lot of commercials. But he was the voice of Pac-Man, and he had a wife. I think her name was Pepper Pac. She had suddenly a first name, and then they had Pac Baby, which was their kid, and they had a dog, and the dog's name was Chomp, because he would go around eating.
Not Chomps with Wesley Ewer.
No, that's another movie. No. And then they would go around eating Power Pellets, and they would turn into like Super Pac-Man, and the ghosts were the bad guys, obviously. And that ran for like 2 years, like 45 episodes or 44 episodes. They even had a Halloween special, like Pack or Treat or something like that. Or I don't know. It was weird. No.
Yeah, sorry.
He met Pacula. Instead of Dracula, he met Pacula, which was like a blood-sucking Pac-Man.
Wouldn't it have been good if it was Scott Pacula?
That's
Bacula. Sorry, Bacula.
And then they had a Christmas special where he actually met Santa Claus, and God knows if the Pac-Man craze did not die out, pretty soon he would be in a DeLorean going back to the future.
Let's pack this episode up, I think. But before we say that,
wait, before we cut on to that, how long did Pac-Man Fever reign in Australia? Because here it kind of went throughout the 80s, but I'll tell you, one of the saddest days is when I got the Atari 2600 version of Pac-Man. And my friends and I, we were in high school, we were counting down the day when they were going to release that. And it came out on a Tuesday. And my mom bought it at Sears, which is like the big department store. We pre-ordered it. I think it was like $40. And you put that cartridge in your 2600 and you were instantaneously disappointed because they screwed it up. You don't know how, but they screwed up Pac-Man. I mean, the premise was there, the look was kind of there, but the 8-bit graphics were not the same thing as the arcade. And even the sound, that waka 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 that you heard at the arcade, they didn't even get that right. Correct. Even that classic when he would get eaten and that everything was missing.
Yeah, it was a pretty poor port. However, having said that, thanks to you and your friends, it was the highest selling cartridge on the Atari system.
I believe Pac-Man was the number one video game of all time too.
It is. It is. I remember looking in they had at the Tate's Toy Shop in Corio Village in Geelong. They had a glass cabinet where they had all the like expensive toys and video games, and they had the Coleco tabletop arcade that sold over. That was too expensive. That was like $130, I think.
Oh no, really?
Wow. Yeah, it was that sold over 1 million copies.
Wow. I was going to say, well, I was going to say real quick, you mentioned Coleco. There were like knockoffs. Yes. Everybody was trying to be Pac-Man. There was a game called Ladybug, which was on the ColecoVision. Basically, it's Pac-Man. You went around as a ladybug and you ate like flowers and you know, plants, and you were chased around too. It was exactly the same, except the maze was different, the graphics, but Ladybug was actually a pretty fun version of Pac-Man.
Yeah, there definitely were a lot of knockoffs around, you know. I think for anything, Space Invaders, and all that sort of stuff. You were saying, it's the most popular video game of old time, or most successful. It certainly is. As of 2016, it had made about $14 billion.
Billion?
Yep.
That's a lot of quarters, man.
And in 1980, I think in 1981, when it started to, because it was a bit of a slow burn, they never expected it to be, you know, so popular. In 1980, it was successful. 81, it outgrossed Star Wars already.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I didn't know it was that
because
big.
When you think about it, you know, people are pumping in, you know, for us, it was 20
quarters,
cents.
dollars.
It was 20-cent piece. You know, for you, a quarter, 25 cents, you know, you play a game. I remember entering the Pac-Man competition.
Really?
They had one at Kohl's, at the Kohl's department store. So I go, okay, there was the cabinet. I went in, I died in like 30 seconds. You know, it was horrendous. I wasn't very good at Pac-Man.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you think about that, you know, pumping in, you know, you're paying, how much was a movie ticket back in 1981?
Oh, about $4.50,
you know, something like that. So
yeah. $2.50, $4.50. Something
you're burning through that in maybe, you know, an hour or two.
Yeah.
If that. So
I'll tell you what, though, it's been 42 years since Pac-Man came out, but he still is around. I remember when we saw that Adam Sandler movie that came out a couple years ago. It was about video games. It had Kevin James in it, and there was an actor who played the Japanese inventor of Pac-Man, and they had this, you know, CGI version of Pac-Man, and it ate him.
Yep.
It was like, what happened there? You know, I was like, that was kind of, you know, dark humor there.
He was actually in it. Toru Otani was in it as a technician at the very start.
The real one. Yeah.
But I think the problem with that Pixels, it was because Pixels, it was an Adam Sandler film. It had a good premise. It was actually based on a short film, if I recall.
The trailer was really cool. Yeah, we were looking forward to it. And then when we saw the movie, we were like, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I was going to say one other big screen appearance that was more successful for Pac-Man comes in. No,
he was in Tron.
Okay, go ahead in Tron. He has a cameo in Tron.
He has a cameo in Tron, in one of the walls where I think it's Sark is there. You can see a little Pac-Man just, you know, in the background. So but continue on.
His other big screen is in a $1 billion movie, is in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, now that he has the power of like the Celestials, at the end of the movie, he fights his father, Ego, the living planet, and he can turn into whatever he wants. And what does he turn into? But a giant Pac-ball or Pac-Man ball. And he comes flying at Ego and boom. But it makes the noise as it goes across that squeaky, rubbery, squeak, whatever that noise. What was that noise?
Waka waka. Technically, I mean, you did say earlier about, you know, Fozzie, that was Fozzie Bear was in 1976. So he was
okay. It sounded like it, that waka 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 waka, but I'm sure it wasn't.
Anyway, Pac-Man has got an endearing legacy. Namco are now, I think it's Bandai Namco.
Namco.
But Pac-Man's like their official, you know,
their
mascot,
logo.
You know, for it. And they're today still Arcade One Up are bringing up they bring out those 3/4
those home
scale
arcade machines. Here's
arcades.
here's a little bit of trivia for you.
Yep.
My gaming show, CT GamerCon, that I do here in Connecticut every March, the new logo is the Pac-Man C. When you look at GamerCon, when I do the C for con, I use the Pac-Man round circle with the open spot for the C. I'll show you the logo now.
So that's it. Looking at Pac-Man, it's a classic. If you can get one of those Arcade One Up, tables, they're great. This one's like just a desktop one, is really good fun. It comes with a number of games, so you can still get it. You can still buy, the large scale ones from Arcade One Up, or you can get a restored cabinet. How cool would that be to have? Because it would look, I know it would look great in my room. If
I know. I want an arcade machine so bad.
Oh yeah. Well,
And
a pinball machine is next on my list, but
Lucky.
I know. Fingers crossed. We'll talk about that at a later date. Mitch, if you want to find out a little bit more about some of our other shows, what can you do?
Oh, and it's as easy as chomping a bunch of power pellets and running away from a bunch of ghosts. All you do is hit the subscribe button down there, and you'll be subscribed to Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. Hit the notification. You'll know when we go on another one. And hit the like button, because we like you and you should like us. But that's it.
That would be great. So, and also, if you've got an idea for a show or a topic, please let us know in the comments below. Well, that's it for another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. This is Ed Dollister.
And this is Pac-Man Mitch.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.